Okay, hey, so just want to start by saying I hope everyone's healthy and staying safe and eating well in these crazy times, as everyone's been calling it. It's been a long time since I've made a video, but that does not mean I have not been in the kitchen. I did get a new toy. I don't know if you can see it next to me here. If not, I'll turn the camera to it in just a second. It is the Chefly pasta roller. It is basically a knockoff of the Atlas 150 pasta roller. It was like a little less than half the cost, but basically it's just hand cranked to make the dough. It has some attachments and stuff, and I'll get into that in a second, but I did just mention dough for pasta, and that's what I'm going to be making today. So, got some salt, olive oil, eggs, and flour here. Got a little cutting board here. You don't have to use a cutting board. You could just use the counter. You can do it in a bowl. You can really do it however you want. Teaspoon? What do I need? Teaspoon and a tablespoon. But this is how I'm going to be doing it. So it's going to start by taking some flour. Just putting that directly onto here. Then I'm going to do that again. My memory is so fading, I don't remember if I just told you I was making a lasagna or not. But there's a couple steps. I know, actually I'm pretty sure I did just say that, so I'm just repeating myself now. But yeah, the first step is the dough. I'm going to make the dough, it's got to sit for a little bit. And then I'm going to see about prepping some meat and some sauce and a ricotta filling. So I have a cup and a half of flour. Going to make a well in the middle of this. And inside of this well, we are going to put our eggs. We are going to season or flavor those eggs, whatever you want to call it, with some oil and salt. We are then going to whisk it together. While we whisk, we are going to slowly add more and more flour into the dough. So it all comes together, well, I should say into the eggs, so it slowly becomes a dough. I don't know who came up with this method. I don't know if it's the best method, but it looked cool and fancy and fun, and that's how I'm going to do it. Here's a tip. I've spent a lot of my life cracking eggs using like the side or corner of something. Apparently that's bad because it shoves shell into your egg and makes you more likely to have little egg fragments. But yeah, so you actually should be doing such a nice solid surface, giving it a crack that splits it across, and then it just kind of opens more seamlessly. Your mileage may vary. I mean, I've seen that ever since I switched to that method. I've been having a lot more shell into my cracked egg. That would have been a really funny time for some shell to just pop into that egg. But yeah, I've been having a lot less shell in my egg, and it actually just feels to pull apart a little bit easier. And again, that's just my opinion. What do I got? I'm putting a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of oil. Just gonna give these eggs a quick little mix, just shatter the yolks. Kind of like get it started. Right, now that it's coming together a bit. Oh, this was dumb. Oh, actually, no, that was okay. I thought I was about to collapse the fork and just make a little spewage and little dam here. So I got some salt. And I got me olive oil. I don't have any spinach. Sorry, Popeye. And then yeah, so we're just going to whisk this. And as we're doing so, you can kind of see, especially right here in the front, the flour is getting added to the egg, and this will eventually thicken into a dough. Somewhere around now, I'm just going to skip ahead mean, I think I'm not even supposed to be using the fork once the eggs are actually beaten. I think you are supposed to switch to your hands. And by supposed to, I mean like the 2 or 3 recipes and stuff I referenced before trying this. Or I'm just making excuses and hoping no one fact checks me. I can say the dough you end up with does have to be dry. Well, on the drier side. So it's possible you might want to just add more flour, but basically it needs to be able to be... Like, it's definitely going to be drier than bread dough. I mean, pasta gets cooked in water. If you have a wet dough, it's just going to fall apart and disintegrate. Even though, yes, you do let pasta dry, that doesn't change the fact that it's still going to be dropped into a bunch of water later. So as you can see from the condition of my left hand, my dough is definitely too wet. So I'm going to put about a half a cup more flour in here. It's close to a third of a cup, but that's fine. I'm not going to use it all. So I actually probably added more like a quarter cup of flour just now. I just want to... It's a lot easier to add flour than it is to take some away. And if anyone's Italian grandmother is watching this, I apologize if my methods are making you cry. And contrary to popular belief, no, I am not Italian. Don't let the pasta making fool you. Okay, now that we have something resembling a dough, we are going to knead this for 2 or 3 minutes until the flour is incorporated and it becomes a smooth dough. Alexa, stop. I actually have something else I have to check on, so I will be right back. Take some of this flour away. I think my dough is dry enough. And as you knead, the surface flour will go in, it'll create some gluten, get nice and stretchy and sticky. The dough will get an even layer on top, a nice sheen, and that's what we're waiting for. Nice even consistency on the top. It should only take 2 or 3 minutes, yet as you can see my dough is in fact a little bit stickier than I need. It shouldn't really be gluing itself to your hands. So I'm just going to have a little bit more of that flour I put on the side as I go. I mean, there really, in my opinion at least, there isn't really a wrong way to knead dough. It's basically just stretching and flattening it. Yeah, this is definitely still too wet. The reason you don't want the wet dough, especially when you're using a pasta roller, is it will stick to the rollers. Or if you're doing it with a rolling pin, it'll stick to your rolling pin. And when it sticks to your rolling pin, it'll rip. And when it rips, you don't have good pasta. You just have garbage. Probably flouring my hands at this point, not the dough. While you're rolling out the dough later, you are going to be adding more flour. I probably should have done a close-up on the dough before to kind of show the rougher, flourier texture. However, this is more of the smoother texture, and this I'm just doing so it's more of a round bowl. And I have no idea how much pasta this is actually going to make, so this might be too much. I mean, it's a cup and a half of flour, so it was about, I think, half a loaf of bread's worth of dough, but that's kind of a nice smooth sheen that we're going for. So I'm going to wrap this, I'm going to let it sit for a half hour actually. While this sits, I'm going to be making the sauce and meat. I guess this is part 2, the non-noodly section of the lasagna. If I didn't mention it was a lasagna, I'm mentioning that now. So I'm going to be making some meat, some sauce, and in this bowl I'll have a ricotta filling. To start the sauce off, I have what I'm pretty sure are cans of tomato, and I'm just going to chop up some garlic, throw in a sprig of basil, and hope for the best. Oh, there's tomato puree. Yeah, that's tomatoes, all right. What do we got? We got tomato puree, water, tomato paste, water. I don't know. This is just tomato puree and water. All right. That's fine. If you have tomato paste, that's better. If you actually want to sit there and reduce some tomatoes in water yourself and like make a puree and paste, that's probably even better. I don't know how ERs work in the English language. And if this isn't enough sauce, I'm just going to cut this off with some jarred sauce that I'd normally use. Just for a video, I didn't really think that was necessary, so 3 more things are going into this. You can come with me. Alright. I'm going to get some basil and pretend I didn't just stub my toe on a chair. Just going to steal an entire thing of basil. That's probably the wrong way to harvest a sprig of basil. I'm going to just crack this in half and throw it in with the fire. So let's actually get the fire. Ooh, that actually smells really good. Let's get that fire going. And let's throw this inside. Okay. And now we're going to join me on my cutting board. I had way too high a fire on that sauce. Why didn't you tell me? I wasn't paying attention. So not to stir the pot or anything, but I'm gonna literally have to stir the pot. And yes, this is probably the worst knife I could have picked for this, and I'm probably gonna struggle cutting tomatoes because this is just like a regular, nothing fancy special knife. So I'm going to cut the garlic into small sticks, stalks, or whatever the word for this kind of shape is. And just throw these in. I don't want to fully mince them, because I don't want them to fully, I should stop saying fully, I don't want them to completely, there's another word that means the same thing, dissolve or get lost in the sauce. So I do want them to still have a little bit of their thickness. And I think this should do the trick for that. These little wedges maybe? I don't know what to call them. I'm gonna rinse these real quick. If you didn't remove the skin from the vegetable yourself, like peeling it, like maybe a carrot or garlic, please wash your vegetables. I'm sure these could go in bowl. I just usually As you saw with the garlic, I just have a habit of cutting the ends off of stuff. I don't even eat tomatoes that often, so I don't even know if this is the right way to cut them, so for that, I would like to apologize if this is wrong. These I'm just gonna cut, I don't know, my version of a large dice, which is probably just not the right way to dice something. I just don't really know what else to do with them because I do want these to be small. I also know I'm supposed to tuck my fingers in when I cut stuff. I don't. I'll cut my fingertips off, it's okay. It's just, I don't find the other way comfortable. And I'm not a professional cook in any way, shape, or form, so I'm not really too concerned. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up to a rapid boil now while stirring. And the idea is I want some of the water to cook out of that tomato puree can that I had. And that'll let some of these flavors get together. And this is just for a very simple sauce. I'm definitely going to have to add salt to this. The basil flavor cooked in a lot quicker than I was expecting it to. Large amount of black pepper. I like to think of that as my cooking calling card. I'm fighting an urge to add onion to this. I want to go like very classic simple sauce. And I feel like salt, pepper, garlic, tomatoes, basil is like the bare minimum for it to count as a sauce, especially for lasagna. So I'm gonna stop there. Maybe add some more salt or pepper if I feel I need to. No, I think that's okay. Okay, now that it's at a bit of a boil, I'm going to lower the heat to a little bit more than a simmer. And I'm going to let this cook down a bit. Get rid of that water. Let those flavors merge a little bit more. And I might add a little bit more garlic later, but I'll figure that out after it cooks a little more. Yeah. Alright, so let's get started on the ricotta. Okay, so we got a bunch of ricotta, or as I like to call it, a whole lot of ricotta. We're going to put an egg in the bowl. Some of this. One of those. Maybe that one. And we got some of that. A little bit of that. Plenty of that. And you want to aim for about a pound. This is a 3-pound container. Oh, so I'm not using all of this. Well, maybe I am actually. Got a little bit left over, but I think I have plenty in the bowl right now. Cheese. And I just want to say these measurements have to be precise. one egg. That's an easy part. I have water on the floor. That's not comfortable. Alright, I was standing in water. Alright, so garlic powder. And again, precise. We need 1 meh of garlic powder. We need nyeh of allspice. Need a hearty bit of some green herbs. A heartier bit of some better green herbs. Not that much salt. That was actually more salt than I meant to use. I wasn't paying attention. And then just top it all off with the black pepper. And I'm missing one important ingredient. I'm going to go get that in just a second. A couple sprinkles of crushed red pepper, because my taste buds are half dead and I need spice in pretty much everything I cook. Alright, so let's really get that egg mixed up and all this other stuff incorporated. And yes, this has raw egg in it. I don't really care, I'm still going to try it. Raw egg can be bad for you, but not every raw egg is bad for you. Worst case scenario, I'm on the toilet for a couple days. Pretty good ricotta filling, actually. Gonna add a little bit more allspice. That comes, I forgot how fine that was, that might have been too much. I mean, that's exactly what I meant to do. Instead of allspice, you can use nutmeg, just something to give it like more of a, I don't know, I guess like an earthy or nutty taste. I don't really know what it does, but I like what it does. It has enough black pepper, I just want more because I'm weird. And then more greens because I like the greens. Oh, that's what I'm missing. I never threw in the Parmesan cheese. I was thinking this looks a little bit too thin. I am going to put this in the fridge. I think I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of the garlic powder, actually, because I have it out already and I don't feel like cutting up another piece of garlic. Yeah, but that's cheating. I'm not going to do that. There's 4 ingredient sauce. Wait, 5? Basil, water, tomato, garlic? Right, I added tomato liquid and tomato. The sauce also has salt and pepper, so I guess I'm definitely well above 4 ingredients. I mean, 6 doesn't sound like that much more than 4, but it's actually half as much more. Alexa, what's left on my timer?
You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on your 30-minute timer.
Alright, I got that note too. Alexa, stop timer.
30-minute timer canceled.
To anyone with an Alexa, I apologize in advance for that. I use mine as pretty much a kitchen timer and a light switch. That's kind of all what I use mine for. So I guess we'll get started on the meat. So, what I'm going to be putting in this future lasagna. One at a time. What do we got here? This is some minced lamb. I'm actually going to put a tiny bit of this red sauce into the pot. Am I going to do that? Or am I just going to do salt, pepper, parsley? I'm going to start with salt, pepper, parsley. I'm going to add some of the sauce at the end. So, let's put this on the back burner. Let's move my stuff out of the way first. I'll let that simmer and cook out. That. So I tried to portion these out to be about half-pound bags. I don't need that much, so I'm going to take about what I think is approximately a quarter pound of lamb mince. This is pork sausage, the hot kind. Like I found containers for the sausage meats, like what they fill the tubes with, but without being filled tubes, which is great because I sometimes cook with sausages and I've just been taking them out of the casings, and this is saving me time and mess. So again, I got about another quarter pound of hot sausage. Actually, that's probably less than a quarter pound, but whatever. This is the exact same thing as the other one, but this is the sweet sausage, which is probably the better one of the two. I mean, I know I like spicy, it's just the spicy kind of overwhelms the actual meat flavor. And this is good old ground chuck, aka hamburger meat, aka ground beef. So I have a little bit less than a quarter pound of each meat. And I just want to brown these a bit, so I don't know why my fire is that high. And I'm going to mix these up. Into this, I'm going to add some salt and pepper. Don't eat raw meat, resist. Pepper. Some salt. Probably should have done kosher salt, but whatever. And parsley. And this is pretty much just going to like sweat off for a little bit. Now you can kind of skip this step and combine the sauce and the meat now. And then when you make your lasagna, you're just putting meat sauce and ricotta and then alternating like that. But I'm going to do them separate. Just kind of keep things... I guess with the noodle barriers, it'll kind of allow the flavors to come together in your mouth, rather than having them sit as one flavor as the lasagna. That's my goal, at least. I could just be wasting time. Like, this could just disintegrate and all mix together anyway. But yeah, right now I just want to combine this into like just an ultimate meat paste. Not paste, but like ultimate meat. I mean, it's got sheep, cow, and pork. I mean pig, which is pork. No chicken. I don't know if pork counts as red meat. So I was about to say this is a red meat only lasagna, but I think pork is like the other white meat, pink meat. I don't really know what it's considered. And I'm just going to decorate this slightly with a little bit of the sauce. Alright, a couple pieces of the garlic fell in. I'm calling that a good thing. That's really just more because I don't want to put water on this, and I don't want this to dry out too much while it's sitting in a pan. The only thing I don't want this to turn into like one weird hamburger patty type of thing. Like I don't want it to cook together. I want it to be like maybe more, I don't even know what I want actually. Back to the noodles. So, yeah, I don't need that. Close enough. Just gonna get some more flour on there. I don't need this anymore. We got our dough. The dough is a little bit more clay-like to the touch now that it had some time to air dry. It's definitely, I mean, I can even tell by the color now that it's just this yellow, that it's going to need a couple flour treatments. So if you're using a rolling pin, you can probably get away with a little bit more here. But because I'm going to be putting it in this little Sheffley guy, or the Atlas 150, which is the real version. Thanks, Amazon. I got to keep it nice and floury, or else the dough's going to stick to these rollers and get caught in the mechanism, and then it's just annoying and makes this weird grinding noise. If that does happen to you, just let it sit for a while, and eventually the the dough will kind of dry out, and it'll just kind of fall right out. And basically, this is how this is going to work. What you can do is, as you roll the dough out, you're going to keep adding flour to it, and then there's this little dial on the side here, and as you make the number higher on the dial, the rollers are going to move closer together, allowing you to keep getting thinner and thinner noodles. So you can just kind of keep folding your dough and passing it through. I'm just going to do something like that. Now, for the amount of dough I made, I probably should have split this into 3 or 4 pieces first, before actually passing it through to have smaller pieces to work with. Actually, I'm probably going to do that now, which I should have done like when it was a big ball, just kind of like cut across on top, and then make each of those into 4 littler ones. So let's just cut this into thirds, something like that. 1, 2, and 3. All right, I got thirds. And then, yeah, pretty much it's just a matter of repeating this until the dough stops getting sticky, pretty much. And then once you get to the point where the dough's not sticky anymore, you can start changing the dial number. Actually, I'm going to show you the meat too. So, the meat has a few bits that are looking like meatball hamburger-ish that are cooked, but a lot of this is raw, so that means that it's a lot of some brown bits. I'm going to take this off of the heat and let it sit in the warm pan, because this has still got to go in the oven for a while. And I don't want the meat to get overcooked in the middle. I mean, it's going to be surrounded with sauce and like cheese and other stuff, so it'll have moisture. But it does have to go in somewhat raw, at least. Alright, back to the noodle. And as you can see, it's definitely getting a bit paler. which kind of makes sense considering I'm adding flour to it. Actually, this one's a little bit sticky already. He's going to get some flour. I'm going to pass him through once or twice more. That was probably too much flour. You can have some flour. There we go. Share the flour. It's not socialism, I promise. Alright, so I don't know if you can see like these kind of lines that are forming on it. These are the dough tearing, and that's what we're trying to get rid of. So that's when we want to add some flour. Because if it does that tearing and that sticks to the rollers, you're going to have a bad time. Now those lines are going to form regardless because each time we pass it through we are stretching the layers of the dough. It's just a matter of how sticky the dough is if those appear. Like whether it's tearing or if it's stretching is basically what we're trying to determine. Like this kind of looks like tearing, this kind of looks like stretching. I don't really know if my camera's high enough quality to show the difference. And for that, I apologize. So I'm happy with how these are now. So I actually don't go each one like I'm supposed to. I kind of skip a couple. So I'm jumping from 1 to 4. And just for reference, this is the shortest one of all of them right now. Let's put those two together. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. And so let's pass this through the 4. So now it's longer than the longest one. And that's basically what's happening. They're going to get longer and thinner. I mean, it's basically 2 hand crank rolling pins. Okay. So these are, I guess, gauge 4 noodles. And I'm now going to go to gauge 6. And unlike what I just did, you really want to aim for the middle of this thing. Because that's what keeps it a consistent size throughout. And you want to keep it in the middle, which is annoying because you kind of need... It's kind of like the Nintendo 64 controller. You really need 3 hands to operate this thing perfectly. Like one to feed it in, one to crank, and then one to... I guess if there was like an auto crank, but like those cost like $300 and this one was under $50. So, yeah. Now, to get more of a uniform size, what you're actually going to do is you're going to fold into thirds and keep passing it through, and that'll make it wider. Because it's going to smush those layers out, and out is the only way it can go, and that's why you want to try to aim for the middle of this thing as much as possible. This is getting a little bit sticky because I did some folds, so let's put some flour on it. And we're going to repeat that again. Basically what we're aiming for is this to be, actually, this is a pretty good example, slightly smaller than the mouth of the roller. And then when it comes through, it should be about the size of the roller in its entirety. And that's kind of the best way to guarantee a uniform thickness, is to try to go for something like that. I don't want it to fold like that. So what this does, now that I have the long side, I can put it through the short way. And that lets me kind of adjust the width. So now you can see these are pretty much the same width. And they're back to being similar in size, but I'm gonna flour this. And I'm gonna pass this through again. This one was a little sticky when it came out from the dough tearing. Yeah, that's a bit more similar in size. And same thing with this one. It's similar in size, but it's definitely smaller. So I'm going to go up to 8 now, and I'm not going to go all the way to 9, which is the thinnest that this can make, because I don't want my lasagna that small. I think I only use the 9 if I'm doing ravioli with this thing, because then you're going to be pressing 2 sheets together, and this isn't really going to be doing that. But this is the size 8, and this, I mean, if I wanted to, I could just do 2 of these, put some of the filling, press it down, and I can have some instant ravioli right now. I don't have to use the attachment for it. I can just do that, and that's what I might do, because the ravioli attachment for this thing is kind of small, and it makes some really tiny raviolis. This one went in too thin. Let's try doing this. Nope. No, I put too much in that time. I'm gonna go back to 6 and do this one again. Or just to a lower number to give it some flour to it. It got too sticky there. It started to rip as I was passing it through. Okay. And what was that? 8, I think I was on. Okay, it's just a little bit too thin, so I'm going to fold it in thirds on itself and pass it through this short way. And now this is pretty similar to that first one I did. Let's move you back a little. And this one's turn. This one's probably too big. This one might get messy. Actually, that one came out pretty good. Okay, so I got my sheets. These are in the way. Now, is a rolling pin faster? Yes. However, I don't think a rolling pin is going to get these uniform results. Okay, so now I'm going to cut these into lasagna size. Let's get my pan. And this is one of the benefits I can now of homemade pasta. You can just match it to the size that you're doing. So, I wonder if this is enough sheets, actually. I think I have enough to make a 3-layer lasagna. I think each of these can be its own layer. I'm going to start by cutting these in thirds and see what I can do with 9 sheets. Doing that to make some creases. One thing I do want to mention, homemade lasagna, homemade pasta, the noodles will cook a lot faster. So this is probably more comparable to a oven-ready pasta noodle. I'll just use that one as a stencil then. I already have a size cut. And this one I'm going to put back in because it's clearly thinner than the others. There we go. It's a little bit more uniform. It's definitely the bigger one, but let's do the same thing here. About there, about there. Okay, now I can let these sit for a little bit. It won't be a big deal. Normally after this you would let them sit for a half hour to 2 hours if you were making like a regular noodle, for them to kind of become more pasta-y before just throwing them. I mean, you could throw them in the water right now. They just might be soft. I don't really know how they take to the water immediately. But with a lasagna, I'm not actually doing that. There's flour in there. So, I guess it's time to check on the sauce. Okay, the sauce definitely thickened up a bit. That water cooked out. It definitely has a strong acidity flavor from the tomatoes, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, that's just what tomatoes taste like. Now on the edges, I kind of have pretty much dehydrated tomato paste because I mixed and I didn't push this back into the bowl. I'm going to put that back in. Ow. Okay. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take my basil sprigs out. I'm actually going to put the basil leaves of the sprig back in. That's hot. I'm touching boiling sauce. I used up all my brain cells earlier today, didn't I? I did it again. Alright, that one worked. Oh, I did it again. Alright, so that actually was a little quicker than I thought. I probably didn't have to put the ricotta into the fridge. But I'm going to take it out now. It did set a little bit, which is fine. It's kind of what I wanted. So I'm going to smear a little bit of sauce on the bottom. Just a little bit. And yeah, that should be good. And I'm going to get my first layer of noodles ready. Bad time to have no CD moment. one. And let's just cut this a bit. Oh yeah, I know this is an 8x8 pan. I probably could have just measured 8 inches and then cut. It's going to be a lot easier than what I was just about to do. This dough is not going to be wasted. It's going to be put back into the pasta roller, so I can maybe get some more layers out of this. Always keep a small tape measure in the kitchen. You never know when you might need one. Actually, this one's pretty close to 8 inches. Oh, the top's 8 inches. It tapers in. So the actual bottom itself is only 6 inches. I'm just going to keep doing it this way, actually. I add a little bit as I go. So, now that we have this, we have to start making the lasagna. So, oh, I need cheese. Some mozz. Lots of mozz. I guess I already made that joke with the ricotta. It's probably not as funny now. I don't even know if you can see the pan of everything I've just been talking about. So I got some noodles in there. Oh yeah, should have preheated my oven by now. Mm, 375, does that sound right? No, you have no idea? Alright, thanks. Sorry about the technical difficulties, my memory card was full. I was going to offload the video and then use the same one, but luckily I have another memory card sitting down because that was going to take like a half hour and I don't want to wait that long to eat. So, now that I have the noodle and sauce, I'm going to add some cheese. Another layer of noodles. This time I'm going to actually measure it out, so I might do it not even close to right again, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so I got sauce, ricotta, meat. Alright, that was about half the meat I made, so I probably could have, I still can use more of that meat and do like another thing like this if I really want more layers that badly. Stretch that. There's going to be a sauce layer. Why is that not? I grabbed too close. Yep. Precious sauce. Except on this sauce layer, yeah, I'm going to add some of the mozz. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce these words all Italian. Like, I was born in America. I'm an American. To me, it's mozzarella. I know it's like mozzarella or something. I don't know how to say it. I'm trying. I mean, I'm not asking for an A for effort. Like a B minus for effort would be nice too, at least. Something like that. I mean, I made my own sauce and noodles. Like, can I at least get a little bit of pass for pronouncing the cheese wrong? Alright, so what do I got? I have meat, salt, ricotta's next. I think don't actually remember at this point. I could have made half of this. I'm just going to use this to fill some raviolis or maybe make some manicotti or something. Sorry. I'm going to go. I think that's how I'm supposed to say that one. Meat layer. Now what I did last time, which was a mistake when I tried to make a lasagna, I went way too close to the top of the tin, forgetting that it's going to like bubble and stuff. And we go a little heavier on the left side because I kind of skimped out on that side last time. And I think I was okay with the amount of meat I did. I mean, I think in total this was a little under a pound of meat. And even if I wanted to, I could not eat this in one sitting. I mean, I'm a bit of a big boy, but I got a pretty big appetite to match. But no, I couldn't eat all this if I wanted to. I'm gonna try. Like I can maybe polish away a third of this if I don't like. If it was like a weekend and I had nothing to do the next day. But I don't have that luxury today, unfortunately. Did I do cheese with the meat last time? No, I'll just do cheese with the sauce this time. I don't remember what I did before. I think I need some more sauce for the top layer, though. Just to see if I can put a little bit of that back. I'm going to pass this one through the 9 just to get a little bit more so it can actually cover the top. I really hope what I just did with that layer right below this that I didn't make it too wet, because then this is just going to bubble up and cook weird, especially as one of the topmost layers. Okay, and on the top, yeah, I used up the meat. I'm going to put the sauce. I kind of regret eating some of the sauce and spilling it before. I really just need like another tablespoon and a half. I mean, it's okay as it is, but I would prefer if there was like another tablespoon and a half. Okay, I like that. I got some pieces of garlic pressed into the top. I can shut that fire off now. What am I going to do? Put a little bit of Parmesan. Some not parsley yet. More mozz. Now parsley. And you know what, just because, I'm going to put some black pepper too. It does not need it. I don't recommend you do this part. I just really feel like doing it. And luckily I'm not too close to the top right now. So that's good. I don't have to worry about this bubbling up, because actually last time like it actually bubbled up and cooked over. I think this has enough room to raise. But yeah, I got is that 8 layers of lasagna? I think it's an 8-layer lasagna. I don't really know if you count a lasagna by its layers or not. But this is, my oven's at 375. I'm actually going to bump this up to 400. But I'm going to put it in now. And I'm going to let that cook for about 40 minutes to an hour. I'm going to check on it in 40 minutes. So yeah, I'll see you in about an hour. Okay, so this is the moment when I realize I forgot to cover the lasagna in foil before I put it in, so the top is a little bit well done. I think it's cooked though. I mean, pretty much the only things that weren't cooked were the meat wasn't fully cooked through, but it was at an edible state, and there was egg in the ricotta. Yet again, that's something I probably would eat as is. The noodles are soft enough where they're cooked, yet still have some crisp, because I think I didn't have enough sauce on the top layers. But yeah, there's the lasagna. I'm going to let this sit for about maybe a half hour before cutting into it, at least. Because if it's too hot when I cut into it, it's just going to like ooze out and implode. So yeah, I'll turn the camera back on when I cut into this and put a piece on a plate. Okay, so time has passed. It's definitely been more than a half hour, I think. But I'm getting hungry. And it's still warm to the touch. As you can see, I'm not wearing the apron because I'm not cooking right now. I'm wearing red in case I spill any pasta sauce. You won't see it on my shirt. Alright, let's see how bad I did. How much is too much lasagna? Should I just get a fork? No, I gotta cut a piece. Let's get a spatula ready. Because I'm going to ruin this. Luckily the top doesn't look all that fancy to begin with. Oh, this is not a sharp enough. No, oh, there we go. That's okay. I just feel like the longer I let it sit, the more likely the first piece won't, like, collapse. You know, like, don't you hate that with, like, most, like, wet foods that you put in the oven, like pot pies or even some cakes, how the first piece just, like, gets destroyed by not having a good angle to take it out on? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Did I even get all the layers just now? I think I missed a layer on the bottom. Oh no, I didn't cut it all the way through. What are you stuck on? Okay, some noodle. Okay, well, there's a lasagna. I'm shocked it's actually staying together this well. I'm really glad I waited to actually plate it. Or cut into it, really. Just gonna give that a taste. Oh, the noodles are definitely cooked. They look more impressive on my slice, but you can kind of see the layers on the inside. I'm gonna go back to this now. But yeah, that's got some dark basil right there. Got plenty of cheesy layers, and it's not overly wet. That's probably just because the amount of sauce I had, and a lot of the water cooked out of the ricotta, which is pretty good. I could have maybe used more of it, but let's take an actual bite. Get a close up on that for you, and an even closer up for me. That was a much bigger bite than I meant to take. I may have, the only thing I would change if I was to do this again, well, two things. One, more red sauce. Like, a lot more. This is not saucy enough. Maybe I shouldn't have cooked down the sauce so much. I maybe got rid of too much moisture from it. But I kind of had a feeling about that, like going in, that I was running out of sauce. And the meat. Because I used 2 different sausages and 1 lamb, 1 beef. The meat is very sausagey. It might just be that the bite I just had was a chunk of sausage. But I should have cut back some of the sausage and added more, or inversely added more of the other 2, to maybe make up for the fact that half the meat in here is pork sausage, while that only leaves a quarter beef and a quarter lamb approximately, like best case scenario. Overall, this is very good though. Like, this is delicious and it looks really good. I'm very pleased with this, and thanks for watching. See you next time.